everyone, Farmgirl here. I am potting up some tomato transplants. These are tomatoes that I started from seed 15 days ago. Tomato seeds can take a variable time to germinate, anywhere from 7 to sometimes as much as 24 days to actually sprout from the seed. So if you're still sprouting tomatoes from seed and yours haven't germinated yet, don't give up hope, because sometimes they do just take a little bit longer than you'd have hoped. But I am doing this video for two reasons. One, it's time, and two, one of my clients for the very first time grew her own tomatoes from seed. So I'm just so impressed with her and excited to be on this journey with her, and her tomatoes are ready to get potted up, so I wanted to film this video real quick just to show her how to do it. So what I do is I did a seed blocking technique in this one, which is I actually have 4 different varieties of tomatoes planted here. And then rather than sowing each few seeds in an individual cell, I just have them in this big block. And so what I do is I like to, take my little garden knife to pull out these little sprouts. Now these are day 14, day 15. You do not want to pot up your tomato until at least the second leaves have sprouted. When the first leaves sprout out, it's just going to look like 2 little blades of grass. And then about a week after that occurs, you'll get the second set of leaves. It's not a bad idea to give these tomatoes a little bit more time to get bigger and firmer, as long as you can give them adequate light. If you can't give them adequate light, then it's better for you to go ahead and get them potted up so you can get them in good lighting conditions, because these guys, it's their time to grow and they need that light. They're going to be searching for it and getting leggy if they don't have enough. So these tomatoes are about day 15, and the goal is that we are going to be burying 90% of the plant. If you can see these little hairs on the stem of the tomato, those currently are air roots, but once we bury them underneath the soil, those are actually going to develop into soil roots. And so on a tomato, we can bury up to 90% of the plant, and the more that we bury, the more roots that plant will now have. It makes it for a more resilient plant, because the more roots it has, the more ability to uptake water and soil nutrients. Also, it helps sturdy up that stem so that by the time soil conditions and climate outdoors are ready to receive these plants, they are just vibrant, hardy, stocky plants. So the way that I do that, the easiest way I have found, is I actually have my seed starting mix. And at this point, you could use potting soil because you're no longer seed germinating, but I already had the seed starting mix. So I put that in a little container right alongside me. And then I use these 4-inch nursery pots. Many I've just saved from seasons past of things that I've planted, but you can often just get these for free from the nursery or the box store. A lot of times they have these anyway that they're getting ready to recycle. What I like to do, because we're burying up to 90% of that plant height, is I actually like to scoop in only half of the dirt I'll need, and I leave it in there like that, so that I can then very carefully come and separate out this guy. And I'm just going to lay him flat in here like this before I go back over and cover the other half with soil. See if I can. I usually do this with gloves and with a spade. I'm doing neither today because it's hard for me to do that while filming, but you get the point. And then you can kind of just shake it until you get that little guy sticking out. Arrange him just delicately where you would want him. And now I'm going to water him in. And if you can believe it, that entire stem that we buried, that is now going to turn into roots. Another thing that I do at this stage, just while I'm working alongside repotting these tomatoes, is I go ahead and give it its first little treatment. These are just crushed eggshells from the eggs we've eaten that our hens provide. And what crushed eggshells do is it's actually nature's perfect slow release calcium treatment. And so tomatoes, they put out a lot of green leaves, they make these big vibrant fruits, and they really actually do need some calcium to help them maintain that. ferocious growth, I should say. And so that is just one little thing I do at the very end when I'm potting up. So I just take a little sprinkle of these eggshells. And another benefit to this, not so much an issue here because these are in the greenhouse, but eggshells, in addition to being a slow release calcium, they're actually a anti-slug treatment, because the slugs are not going to crawl over these eggshells. To a slug, these eggshells are like a bunch of razor blades on the soil. So I top my tomatoes off like that, and then you can even use those eggshells again as an anti-slug treatment in the garden in the spring. So that's the method to potting up these tomatoes. And again, you want to wait until you get the second set of leaves. That's usually about a week after you develop the first set of leaves. Bury it up to 90% of the tomato in a good, still loose soil before watering it in. And if you have some crushed eggshells to add on top of that, it really does help the plant. And then you'll continue to pot these up in that same method until soil conditions and overnight temperatures outdoors are safe for tomatoes. So typically that's going to look like at least 50, and ideal is 60-degree overnights. So we're not quite there yet, but we will be soon, and this is the method that you'll use to help you get there. I hope that it helps.